A state district judge declared Texas school finance system unconstitutional. The lawsuit ruling says Texas doesn't provide adequate funding for schools and fails to distribute funding fairly among schools in property wealthy and property poor areas. Fox 4's Phil Alvarado in our Fort Worth newsroom with an update on the lengthy legal battle.
Clarice, everyone expects an appeal, but that will extend the amount of time needed to put in a fix on school finance. And there may not be enough time to do that before the end of the next legislative session.
School districts and the state have increased standards for students, and that's good. What the school districts didn't like in recent years were big cuts in state funding for public education and the Robin Hood system, where money from wealthier districts is given to poorer districts. More than 600 Texas school districts sued the state.
Arlington ISD, which is in the district that I represent and that Senator Harris represents, will lose $22,890,000 in the first year.
Democratic gubernatorial candidate Wendy Davis was a state senator in 2011 when she launched a filibuster to try and stop the cuts. The legislature eventually voted to cut nearly $5.5 billion from public school finance. At a stop at UT Arlington, Davis says that pushed the burden onto taxpayers.
That's not fulfilling the responsibility that we have to the next generation of Texans.
It brings us to today's 400-page ruling. Even though the legislature restored $3.5 billion in funding, a judge ruled the Texas school finance system is unconstitutional. Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott and Republican candidate for governor says our obligation is to improve education for our children rather than doubling down on an outdated education system constructed decades ago.
Say hi.
School districts believe the state needs to carry more of the load so the districts can teach. The Fort Worth School District responded to the ruling. The statement says, in part, the state's funding commitment does not match its expectations. We must have additional resources if we are to provide the interventions and individualized attention our struggling students need in order to succeed. Republican State Representative Jason Villalba says antiquated and ineffective constructs such as Robin Hood and quasi-statewide property taxes must be eliminated if we are to craft a fair and reasonable finance system that works for all of our Texas public school students. The judge's ruling criticizes the current school finance system for relying too much on local property taxes. Davis says that's one of the most troubling aspects of the current cuts in school funding.
That the state's failure to appropriately fund our public schools has shifted that burden to local property taxes, and that we are in a situation where many people are literally being priced out of owning their homes.
A lot of people want to fix the current system, but the trouble has always been agreeing on the solution. Clarice?
It's going to take a long process, Phil. Thanks.